Maybe I'll just kill Mike. I'm the chief of police. I could cover it up. Here's your look at the new McFarlane toys. This is Stranger Things Chief Hopper. Coming to us from Season 3 of the popular Netflix series Stranger Things, Chief Hopper comes included with his revolver, a bottle of wine, a walkie-talkie, and an interchangeable hand. Let's go ahead and grab the tape measure. And let's go ahead and get the measurements going for Chief Hopper. We're going to put that right to the very top of his head. It seems like a good place as any right there. According to the readouts, according to my Ultra Measure-Tron 5000, Chief Hopper, in his, might I add, a very stylish-looking shirt, stands 7.2 inches in height. And that in centimeters, my friends, that stands at 18.4 centimeters tall. But exactly how tall is that? How about some comparisons? Well, we could bring in Sheriff Hopper from the previous wave. This would have been, I think, Season 1 or Wave 1, Stranger Things. You can see that he's about the same height as his former self. Another comparison, even though we are going to be looking at L from this wave as well. But when we bring in L from the previous wave, this would be Season or Wave 2, L. You can see how they stack up to one another. Hopper, like I said, is about the same height as his sheriff-dressed figure. He seems like he's a little bit heavier. We'll talk about that in a second. And there he is, the comparison with Punk 11 from Season 2. Packaging is not something that normally makes reappearances here on this channel. I want to kind of rush through packaging as much as I possibly can, but this, I think, is something that's worth looking at again. Look at this stellar carded packaging that comes for Sheriff Hopper, and this actually would be the same for L as well. It's nice artwork there featured on the side. You've got McFarlane toys at the top. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, like I said, talking about it. What I love about it, though, is the fact that it's got some old vintage, like it looks like something. I've ripped, obviously, this opened to get to Hopper, but like even the packaging itself looks like it's old. This is something that McFarlane has done for this wave, and I'm really liking it. Like even on the back here, this is not old glue. He's printed it, not he specifically, but the company has printed the cards that they look like they have natural age to this. This would be almost something you would expect to find at the basement dungeon dwellings of a comic book store, or maybe something that you would have had in your collection for a very long time and you find this in the basement somewhere. Just again, really love those little nods to details. The fact that they are trying to make this look like this would be old vintage packaging. Granted, yes, the figures would not be as articulated as they are now. Back then, they would have been limited on articulation. But there is also the L that we're going to be having a look at. There's only 2 figures for this wave so far. And we're going to have a look at L in the next review. Yeah, I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. I had to show you guys the packaging. That looks really, really cool. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the things that come included with the figure. I did mention at the beginning of this review, he does come with the Chardonnay, he comes with the revolver, he comes with the walkie-talkie, he does also come with an interchangeable hand, omitting completely the fact he also comes with this same Stranger Things clear display stand that all the other figures have come included with. Thank goodness, though, if you have seen my other reviews of them, these are usually plagued with adhesive stickiness because these are taped to the back of the card. These are still taped on the back of the card, but I don't know if maybe it's a different type of tape that they're using. Luckily, it doesn't leave any residue on it, so that's already a good thing. The figure does have, we flip it upside down, only one peg hole on the underside of his foot. So it pretty much is a straightforward, you know exactly which foot is going to be plugged into place. And there he is standing atop of the Stranger Things logo. Really liking that, like that they come with display stands. Hopper doesn't have really too much of a tough time standing, but I love just being able to finish off everything rather nicely by incorporating also a display stand. So that's pretty cool. Let's have a look at the other accessories that come included with the figure. He does also come with the Abe and Zabe, or is it Ab and Zab Burke Chardonnay. a bottle of wine featured in I can't remember which episode it was, but he has that bottle of wine. The figure does hold it not well, granted, though. We go ahead and take the figure. One hand is suited for holding the pistol, the revolver. And then he also has this hand here. Well, clearly this hand has a peg on the interior of the palm. Now this is going to be for his walkie-talkie. The Chardonnay doesn't have a hole anywhere on the bottle, so that's not really going to jive. That's not really going to work. So you have to use this hand here. And I guess if you really just take the bottom or the top of the bottle and just kind of wedge it up into his hand, then he holds it perfectly fine. And you can have him looking at his bottle of wine. I don't know why you would want him looking at the bottle of wine, but you can certainly pull off that look if you wanted to. Some other possibilities for how you want to display the figure. Maybe you want to display him, for example, with the revolver. Well, there's an idea for you. Just to also show you what it looks like with the older revolver. This one would have come with Sheriff Hopper. I know what you're thinking. They're both Hoppers. This would have been the older figure right here. You can see they've done a little bit of a nicer job of cleaning up shop. This one has a nice brighter silver color to it. This one looks a little older. But they do look like they do appear to be the same mold. At least they think they are the same mold. They look like they are identical to one another, would you not say? And you can put that one in this hand here. Yeah, the one with the trigger finger. It looks a little off, honestly speaking, if you don't have him displayed with the pistol, with the revolver in his hand. Because the problem is he's always going to be pointing his finger. So I guess you could work that into some story as to how you're displaying the figure and why you're displaying the figure with the pointer finger sticking out. Again, maybe he's, I don't know, maybe he's pointing and yelling at Will. Maybe he's pointing and telling Elle that she has to keep the door open 3 inches. I don't know. But you can see that if you do a little bit of adjusting, the trigger finger does fit around the trigger. And you can display him like that. Like I said, if you take the gun out of his hand, like I'm going to do right now, it does look odd that he does have that pointer finger. Again, you could use it, you could pretend like he's pointing, you know, like that. You could do that. Why not? That sounds good. So there's that as an option also. Let's go ahead and pull this hand off. And to do that, we're just going to wiggle. I have to admit, I don't like that the pegs are so small. They seem almost like they're the wrong type of peg for this type of figure. You know, when you look at the peg and then you look at, say, Hopper's forearm, doesn't it look like this peg should really belong to something else, possibly a smaller figure? Well, that's the peg that they ended up going with. I guess I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but it is a bit of a nuisance to try to get the new hand in place because you're working with such a small peg. It's ridiculous. Just wedge that in like so. It's not the easiest to get into place. And then you can take the walkie-talkie, which is done here in black plastic with some silver done on the antenna, and the buttons and dials are also painted in there as well. And lo and behold, there is a peg on the, I guess I should have pegged this into his hand first. There we go. And then once that's in his hand, you can do the blizzard test. It's not going to go anywhere. And then you can do your best to try to navigate that, entice it to its peg. Like I said, that peg is way too small. There it is right there. I don't personally like the peg. I think it's just, yeah, it's a little too small for my liking. So let's go back to the original hand. I don't like to change the hands too often because I know the next time I come around to changing the hands, it's just going to be a nightmare once again try to get that back into place. Also notice that this peg is a little bit more concealed. It's a case where, yeah, the peg, the type of plastic that they used, this has already happened a couple of times, changing out the hands, is something I want to talk about. If you are getting this figure for yourself, just be mindful when you are changing out the hands. This time on this side, you're obviously not going to be changing the hand too often. Well, you're probably not going to be changing at all because he doesn't have an alternative. But on this side, most definitely, the way it's sandwiched together and you got the ratcheted joint on the inside, like the peg I'm already noticing is prying away from itself. I don't know how long that's going to last. So like I said, I'm not too keen on changing out the hands too often. Let's go ahead and get him off the display stand. we'll do some close-up comparisons with him and his sheriff outfit Hopper. You can see that there is a difference between the two. This one I thought at the time was a really stellar sculpt of Hopper, but honestly speaking, I kind of like Tropical Shirt Hopper's face sculpt just a little bit more. He's a little scruffier, his mustache is a little fuller, though you can't make out his eyes as well. I think it's an improvement. I would most definitely say it's an improvement of sculpt from this one to what we originally started off with. I was rather actually surprised, too, that the season of Stranger Things just came out. Season 3, Stranger Things, July, would have come out on Independence Day. And we already have figures for these. I was really pleasantly surprised to find that these figures were being circulated. Granted, unfortunately, Canada didn't get a chance to get them. Canada just didn't stock them, so I ended up having to order these, of all places, on Amazon. One of my first times ordering off of Amazon. Relatively smooth transaction. I think it was a little bit also more affordable than trying to source these out on eBay and paying some of the prices that the sellers would be selling on there. I might even consider buying off of Amazon more frequently. Like I said, other than just taking a while to get here, very, very pain-free experience. So again, there's the close-up look at Hopper. You can see he's been very badly bruised in his lip and also right on his forehead there as well. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the head sculpt though. Some stubble happening there. Paint's generally pretty good. Something about the Stranger Things figures, they tend to have a muddy complexion. Even like looking at Punk 11 again, like we had looked at before. Like the skin tone always comes across like it's very caked on and muddy. I guess it works well for the figures. Up close, they look a little bit more muddier than maybe from a distance. From afar, they're not actually that bad at all. Sheriff Hopper's trademark shirt, somebody very wittingly came up with a Magnum PI opener and used clips of Hopper running around in season 3 wearing the tropical shirt. It was fantastic. I would love to see an interesting like Magnum PI movie, not that reboot series that's going on right now, but a movie that actually has Hopper in it. That would be so cool. But having a look at his outfit, very much is an 80s outfit. This is a pattern I don't think could be passed off nowadays with the scribbling. It seems like all the shirts back then had this kind of decoration, this kind of pattern to it. The greens, kind of this green and this pink, so screams 80s to me, and obviously why they would have picked this for Hopper to be wearing this out on his date. He's got a pair of jeans, which they actually don't come across as much as jeans as they come across as slacks. A belt running through that with some gold and some, it's not quite gray, it seems like it's almost a bit of a purple gray. And then he also has his loafer shoes on there, which I thought were the same loafer shoes that were on this Hopper, but you can see that they are bigger. Proportionally, even though the figures are the same, his foot size apparently has changed, as his feet now are much bigger than his original self. And both figures did have the peg holes, only on the one foot, and that would be the left foot if you're looking at it this way. There's what the back of the figure looks like. Just again, really nice looking figure. He's a little fuller. There we go as well. He seems like he's a slight bit fuller than when he was in his sheriff outfit. There you go. Not drawing too much attention. I'm sorry to that. Let's have a look at this guy's posability. His head rotates all the way around. Now, I did notice when I got this guy out of the packaging that his ball joint, his head, popped off way too frequently. If I wasn't already plagued by a problematic peg system there on his hand, I'm also plagued by the fact that the ball joint doesn't seem to want to stay in the very much. As much as I push it down, if I start turning the head again, it seems to want to dislodge itself. I think it's going to stay in there for a little bit at least. But the head moves up, the head moves down, the head tilts back and forth, and can rotate all the way around. The waist swivels back and forth. It's not a ball joint, it's just a cut swivel, so that's all it's going to really do. Shoulders hinge out. There we go. You can move the arms all the way around. They fight a little bit, but they will get around there for you. And then he does have This is always something I don't care for McFarlane toys. This is one thing I am worried about when they are eventually going to be releasing the DC figures, is I hope that they can be done with these ridiculous looking ratcheted. And the thing is, they're not even feeling as if they're ratcheted joints either. I gotta believe there's a reasoning why they went with this type of hinge system, but it's quite ugly to look at, because it takes what is already, I think, a decent looking sculpt and almost ruins it a bit, because you're seeing these noticeable slots where the elbow joint would be. The arm rotates on that same hinge joint all the way around, and you can also rotate the hands all the way around, hinge them back and forth. Just be a little careful on this one here. The legs split out. They're actually on ball joints, but still those ugly looking ball joints with the little slots in them. Makes no sense to me. Forward and back on the legs, he does have a bend at the knee, rotate at the lower leg, try not to draw your attention to that, and he does also have a ball joint in the feet. So he basically has all the same articulation that the former Hopper had. Talking a little bit quickly about those ratcheted joints, I find, unfortunately, Hopper is a little on the loose side. Loose on the feet, loose in the knee areas, and then he's also loose moving the legs back and forth. So if the solution was for a figure not to be loose anymore by incorporating then these ratcheted joints, these ugly noticeable joints, if that was the solution to the problem of everything being loose, well, it didn't fix the problem, because Hopper still has loose legs. I don't have as much the issue on these figures. Something also quickly to mention, because I know I will forget it otherwise. They have gone the way of the dodo of using these visible peg hinge joints. Like, these are similar to what we were getting with like the older DC Universe figures. I'm glad that they have since dismissed those. You can see though, they haven't dismissed those ugly hinge joints. I don't know if that's going to be the case across the board with every single thing that McFarlane Toys releases, but I find the joints to be a little obnoxious and quite a bit ugly for an otherwise really decent looking rendition of Sheriff Hopper. When Stranger Things Season 3 hit in early July, I knew I was going to be in for a treat. Stranger Things has been easily one of my favorite go-to shows to watch, and of the only 2 seasons that they've aired on Netflix so far, I have absolutely loved this series and all the characters that inhabit in it. Stranger Things Season 2 for me, I found was marginally better than the first season, so I really had good high hopes for Season 3, and it absolutely blew me away. So much so that after the first, second, or even the third episode, I told myself I was not going to binge watch it. I was not going to sit down in 2 days span and watch the entire series. I wanted to digest it slowly, enjoy it one episode at a time. So it was like every other day I caught a new episode of Stranger Things until finally finishing off Season 3 and absolutely loved it. Stranger Things Season 3 easily could be one of my best favorite go-tos and one of my favorite shows I've watched in recent memory. I literally didn't want the show to end. And unfortunately, with it ending, there's still the hopes of already a Season 4 being developed, possibly even starting to get filmed soon, so we can look forward to Stranger Things Season 4 eventually happening. But in the meantime, we can enjoy, of course, figures released by McFarlane Toys. So loving also the packaging for the original Stranger Things cards that we kind of got going on here. Loving the dated look for these. I had to include this in final looks. And even though this set is much smaller than the previous Stranger Things figures from McFarlane Toys, as far as I know, we're only still getting 11 and Chief Hopper. 11, by the way, her review will be coming up right after this one. Hopefully, I'm sure McFarlane Toys already have planned for future figures to be hitting the Stranger Things banner. Now, this one I don't think is very easy to come by. You could probably easily find these at Target, but I don't have a Target here in Canada. Walmart's not something that stocks Stranger Things, and nor is Toys R Us. The off chance you may get a comic book store stocking these, but I ultimately had to resort to ordering on Amazon, and I might actually say a rather pleasant experience ordering from Amazon. I might actually just do that moving forward with some of the figures I just can't find here in Canada, like Chief Hopper and 11 from Stranger Things Season 3. Without giving anything away, of course, don't spoil it for the people that haven't watched Stranger Things Season 3, or really any Stranger Things at all. Do yourself a service, by the way, individual and stranger who admits, yes, I have never seen Stranger Things. Please do yourself a service and a favor. watch Stranger Things. But if you have seen the third season, let me know what you guys think of it without really giving anything away. You can just tell me if you really liked it, or if you like season 2 better, or if you like season 1 better, but please don't spoil it for anybody that has not seen the season yet. Please see the season of Stranger Things, and please watch Stranger Things if you haven't done so already. Either way, though, today we were having a look at the McFarlane toy Stranger Things. This was Chief Hopper. I ended up displaying him in final looks, by the way, with his revolver, and hopefully this isn't the end of Stranger Things figures from McFarlane Toys. I just realized over the span of just final looks alone, how many times I probably said Stranger Things. Hopefully that wasn't a drinking game. You guys probably have already passed out onto the floor. So sorry for that. If you are new to this channel, or if you're a longtime viewer, like Stranger Things, I said it again, another shot for the people that's currently still sitting at the table. If you guys like Stranger Things, you can go back and check out my previous reviews for that show. But what I was also going to say, if you're new to this channel or longtime viewer, and maybe you just never got around to it, maybe you were in the Upside Down the whole time. If you have, let me know. Contact me. I really want to hear your story. But make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, and you don't have to go upside down. You only simply have to traverse, I guess, horizontally over to the bell. Turn on the bell notifications so that when future videos are coming onto this channel, like, oh, I don't know, maybe like 11, she'll be coming up right after this review, you won't miss out. And missing out really sucks. It really sucks a lot. So don't be the person that has things missing out on, unless you're in the Upside Down. And I don't even know if you get YouTube in the Upside Down, but hello, thanks for checking out my channel in the Upside Down. Would I be like a polar opposite in the Upside Down? Would be like an evil version of me? I don't really know how that works in the Upside Down. It's not that everything is really opposite. It's just a lot spookier. I guess there would be a spookier version of this channel. I don't know. I'm overthinking this way too much. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down below of season 3 of that show. I'm not going to say it again. And I will see you guys next time.